More from last Thursday's Town Council meeting on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Monday, October 22nd, 2012. I'm Sarah Colvin. While a public hearing won't be held until November 1st, Barnstable residents were invited to comment on proposed changes to the town code as it applies to problem properties. Several people spoke in support of those changes. First up, Milton Berglund, Vice President of the Greater Hyannis Civic Association, spoke to the issue of rental properties.
Councilors, I think what we've experienced is a secular change in the conversion of many single-family homes to investment properties for rental housing purposes. When I was a child on Cape Cod, many people came to motels or to hotels. Now the family preference is to rent a home. This has resulted in a few number of owners and their agents abusing or disrupting neighborhoods and neighbors' property rights, specifically overcrowding beyond the standards allowed by the mass sanitary codes for 4-bedroom houses or 6-bedroom houses, deficient property maintenance, excessive noise, and disproportionate attention by local police to certain addresses. This disrupts neighborhoods, affects property values in these problem areas. I submit an example of C Street, for example, parts of C Street in Hyannis. These ordinance changes are designed mainly to plug three big loopholes. One is the definition of adult occupancy. Two, the absence of property maintenance standards in the present code, unlike some other towns in Massachusetts which have already made changes to address exactly that issue. And number three, the recoupment of the high costs related to repeated police calls to chronic problem properties. I want to emphasize that these changes are not intended to infringe on the legitimate property rights of citizens. They are directed specifically to those few who infringe on the property rights of others by degrading neighborhoods with dysfunctional or neglectful behavior. I urge your favorable consideration of these changes.
John Crow of Osterville also spoke on Thursday.
For the past 7 years, my little neighborhood, which is just off Main Street in Osterville, has basically been under siege by two rental properties. I think Councilor Cote can corroborate much of what I'm going to say, but to be short, the people living in these homes think it's their right to disturb their neighbors to such a degree that we no longer can enjoy our properties as we used to. And it's become quite a problem. One neighbor next to me is, the gentlemen there think that their God-given right is to party from noon to midnight every weekend during the summer, Saturdays and Sundays, no matter what day it is. And it's gotten to a point where the neighbors on my side of the street, a number of them, can no longer use their backyards because.
The executive director of the Hyannis Main Street Business Improvement District also had praise for the proposed code changes.
We're particularly excited about the ordinances that they're speaking of right here. The adjustments in the laws as they exist now would greatly benefit the town, the neighborhoods, including residences and business neighborhoods that have, certain properties that have been abandoned or have criminal activity. We all know it brings down the entire neighborhood and brings down the entire town as well. And so it would be great to have better accountability so that we support these ordinance changes.
And Precinct 8 Town Councilor Deb Dagwan had positive comments as well.
And what a great job that I think those that have been working on it. I had some concern at the beginning of this to make sure that that the focus is going to be on problem properties. There are a lot of people out there struggling who are really trying to make ends meet in the neighborhood. I've been canvassing for the last 3 months in various neighborhoods, and you see people who are just not putting the kind of effort into their property that they normally would because they just don't have the funds, and they prioritize as to what's going to be repaired or not repaired or done or not done. And so I commend the group on the way that they've approached this, the fact that they've taken it not just in Hyannis where we have a lot of issues here, but they've taken it to all of the neighborhoods, all of the villages. And everybody's kind of reached out and said, yeah, we're all in this together. We're having problems in our villages as well, and it's going to affect all of the villages. So I just wanted to give the Civic Association who initiated this, and all of those. And it's a lot of names I could say, but a lot of those that have really put a lot of time and effort in getting around and tightening this up and making sure that it addresses a very serious issue that we're having in our town at this time.
Those code changes will be up for a public hearing on November 1st. Last Thursday, councilors also approved a pair of conservation restrictions for the Arenda Wildlife Trust. Mark Robbins, executive director of the Compact of Cape Cod Conservation Trusts, represented Arenda at Thursday's meeting.
Mr. President, members of the council, my name is Mark Robinson. I'm the executive director of the Compact of Cape Cod Conservation Trusts, which is a regional nonprofit organization that supports the work of local and regional land trusts throughout Cape Cod. And I'm here today to represent two of these land trusts, the Arenda Wildlife Land Trust, which is represented here tonight by two of their board members, Ken Burns and Farley Lewis. The Arenda Wildlife Land Trust is headquartered in Barnstable and is a regional land trust that supports wildlife habitat projects in particular. And Jackie Barton, who many of you know, Executive Director of the Barnstable Land Trust, is also here tonight representing her group. The intent of these conservation restrictions is to seek town approval under Mass General Law, Chapter 184, Section 31 through 33, enabling these restrictions to be forwarded to the Executive Office of Environmental Affairs for final approval so that the restrictions can run with the land in perpetuity after they're recorded in the Registry of Deeds. The first project is a 7-acre parcel, and it's located in West Barnstable, a little hummock out in the edge of the Great Marsh, separated from the adjoining property, upland property, by the railroad bed. And it's the site of the historic West Barnstable Brick Factory, and we're very pleased to be acquiring the land in Arenda's name as a habitat protection property, but also for the historic value of the property associated with the old brick factory. I said in one of my communications to the town, there are no more bricks. I think it's been well picked over over the many years, but it's a wonderful addition to the town assemblage of properties in and around the Great Marsh, and we're particularly pleased that the Pogorelk family of West Barnstable is donating it to the Arenda Wildlife Land Trust. The conservation restriction is intended to provide an overlay of protection so that the Barnstable Land Trust will have a conservation restriction held over the land owned by the Arenda Wildlife Land Trust. So we call it a belt and suspenders, two conservation groups worrying about the conservation status of the land in perpetuity.
Town Council will meet again on November 1st. With Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Colvin.